Hello, so my name is Carlos from Camden Council. I'm a sustainability officer within the sustainability team, and we have been working with the community for many years now. So I'm gonna talk about the Think and Do. So if we can see the next slide, Ellie. So we ran our citizens assembly 2 years ago now on the climate and ecological crisis. It was a really thorough process with really careful recruitment, or ran over 3 days. It came up with 17 proposals, but at the same time, we also ran a peripheral consultation process. So because we felt that the assembly was focusing on a very specific number of people, we wanted to engage others. So as the assembly was running, we also went out to schools, to businesses, and generally to residents through a consultation platform. Then all the information collected through that process was taken to the assembly for assembly members to consider, and then came up with finally 17 proposals. And one of the key things that came out from this assembly, and the leader committed to, was to follow up on urgent engagement with the community. So she wanted us to kind of go out immediately after the assembly and engage with the community on climate crisis. So to that, we call a co-design kind of event and invited a number of people we have engaged through the consultation of the Citizen Assembly to look what this engagement might look like. And so, and one of the things that was very clear is that we needed to focus on what we shared together, because we were inviting people from different sectors with different potentially ways of working. So it was identifying what those common goals around the climate crisis. And we had not preset agenda on what we wanted to deliver. And also we wanted to deliver this in collaboration with the community. Neither we were asking them to do it themselves, or we wanted us to do it ourselves and get some input. It was something to be delivered together. The next one. So we came up with this idea of the Think and Do, and we took over this use front shop on Kentish Town, and we had really short time to deliver this engagement. And the idea was to create this shop where people can come and release their imagination to tackle the climate crisis. And we have walls full of blank papers with questions, prompting questions, things like, what would you do if the council will say yes to anything that you propose, and things like that. The design of the shop and the running and the delivery and everything was basically handed over to a committee, which was mainly led by the community. So we were one member of this. But for example, what the shop looked like was all led by the community, and all were kind of really community led in a way. We were just one other member. So the shop runs for 6 weeks, and we ran over 80 activities. And one of the ideas was that we collect all the activities that were on the wall at the end of each week, and then we look at those ideas that had a lot of people behind, and then invited these people to do a hackathon to hack this idea into a project. So the outcome of this was that over those 6 weeks, we had 10 project ideas that became real projects with people behind, and they were kind of run and delivered by the community. And Debbie and Ellie will talk about a bit more about that in a minute. And also was our commitment that we will extend this approach to other sectors in the borough. And again, Debbie will mention a little bit more about that. Next one. In terms of the co-benefits of working and delivering together, for us from the council perspective, obviously tapping into that energy that is there in the community. We didn't want to reinvent the wheel or come up with new ideas. Ideas were all out there, so we were just tapping into all those ideas, projects that people wanted to deliver for ages that then came up reality. We also obviously have to build on existing trusted connections, as if working with those people that in the community has been working for for years. We tap into those because sometimes we don't have the capacity to reach to these people because of language barrier, cultural barriers, or our own limitations in terms of just the language we use. And also it was this idea of kind of giving people a space to deliver and act on things that are of the consent, so they have the ownership, and those projects that came up that have arms and legs that are working together without our support, without our support. And of course, develop new partnerships with members of the communities and challenge new sources of funding. Next one. And then what makes a good delivery partner from our point of view. That image, for example, the person on the right is, from my point of view, is a businessman. Then someone in the middle is someone from the community, and on the left is a council officer. And then we're surrounded by these shared goals. So the idea is we need to identify those shared goals so we can work together, regardless of things that are different to our organizations or where we're coming from. We obviously need to respect and genuinely collaborate and commit. So we all have to agree on a goal, and we all have to put our efforts and respect each other's views and ways of working. We have to trust in each other's intentions, because it's always this suspicious what you in here for. So once we agree on those goals, we have to respect this. You're here genuinely to deliver something that we agree on. We have to be flexible and explore different ways of doing things. Again, because everyone comes with a background, how they want to do things. And when you're working together, you need to sometimes compromise. Oh, actually, we're not gonna do it this way, but let's try this other way. And we need to be open to learn together, to hear criticisms from others and carry on and move on from that. Next one. And finally, engaging with your local authority, some tips. Building this positive relationship with relevant council officers. So you need to kind of establish a relationship and get to know them and talk to them, being really honest, establish a more kind of informal conversation sometimes. Show them what you're doing and the value that you can bring and your experience, what you have achieved in your work in the community. Offer constructive criticism and solutions, not only you're blaming the council, but where they think we could improve and what could we do. And obviously lobby local councillors and creating those critical friends within the council and environment. Next one, I think that was it for me. Yeah, so pass it over. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ellie. Thanks, Carlos. So I've just got some images here of the first initial pop-up. So I actually came into Think and Do as a community member and as a member of Camden Friends of the Earth. So this initial space in the pop-up, as Carlos said, was co-designed. There were all sorts of groups that took part. There was Camden Friends of the Earth, Transition Kentish Town, Camden Greenpeace, XR, Kentish Town Veg Box, that's just a few. But what was really wonderful about the space was that there was councillors from the wards, there was also council officers from different departments, and then passionate people who came in and wanted to just discuss different things, or people who had perhaps never even considered climate action or social action, who were just walking past on the street and thought that this space looked like something that they wanted to engage in. So we had poetry readings, tree giveaways, clothes swaps, toy swaps, all kinds of different events that engaged different people. And then also, as Carlos said, hackathons, which tackled specific challenges or specific areas that lots of people were interested in. And from those, we had projects that grew. So one of these projects I'm going to quickly talk about is the Camden Forest. So the Camden Forest initially started from a resident coming in and saying that he wanted to plant 2,025 trees in Camden by 2025. He didn't know how to do this, but he wanted this aim. He knew that that would have a good impact on the carbon emissions on the borough, and so this was his big idea. So the groups that were there were able to, there was the TCV, which is the conservation volunteers, they're able to donate trees. So they've written that on one of the notes somewhere. There was also obviously the tree department from the council there. The idea with this project is actually planting trees in like residents' gardens. But we had the council work with us as well, and we were able to this year plant trees in pots on estates. The Camden Forest group is run by volunteers. Some of these are community members, some of them are from community groups, and some of them are from the council tree department. So this means that we have a really good dialogue when we come to planning parts of the project. If we come to any challenges, we've got the council's ear, which is really great. We've got some really great things planned for next year as well, planting more mature trees and orchards. Just these images here, the one on the left is at Parley Hill School, where the students have planted a feminist orchard. So they are voting on feminist icons that they're going to dedicate each tree to. And then on the right there, we've got some of the tree giveaways. Another project that was born was the Library of Things. So the Library of Things is something that's been kind of discussed in the borough quite a lot, particularly through Transition Kentish Town, who wanted a Library of Things where you could borrow something and then take it back and not have to have all the consumption behind it. The Library of Things, that business model there, somebody from that organisation actually came into the pop-up, started a conversation with the council, and then this summer we're actually going to get the Library of Things in Kentish Town, which is really exciting. So another way in which we have connected with the council is through the Tenants and Residents Association newsletter. So through the ecosystem that we have at the council, we've managed to get in touch with the head of housing for the TRAs, and this newsletter reaches 20,000 residents. Now, this is people that we may not have been able to connect with otherwise, who live in other areas that we haven't reached yet or that we haven't been to. And it's meant that we've been able to give away over 400 trees to people on estates, and also give away 300 wildflower seed packets. And this was actually, we had so much more interest than we were expecting with that. So hopefully next year we'll be able to kind of build those numbers. It also means that we can continue to do this outreach with our future projects. Another note on housing estates is we were planning a pop-up. The next pop-up coming out of COVID was to be on an estate in Ossulston, but unfortunately we've had to postpone that. But the relationship there with the council was really important, because we worked with the housing officers who have really good relationships with the TRAs, and through that we've managed to do these pop-ups and plan everything really well together. Next slide. So some of the projects that we've had some challenges with, energy workshops were quite difficult to kind of get people there. I think maybe we needed some more guidance from the council with comms and things like that, maybe some more information. And also putting the park back into parking. So this is a project where we turn parking spaces into parklets, so areas where neighbours can come and sit together, areas that are dedicated green space to improve biodiversity. But the problem with this is that the mechanism for getting a parking space turned into a parklet actually goes across 5 council departments. So for a resident to want to do this process, it's quite a lengthy and difficult thing. So we're kind of working with them to try and get communication across these departments. I don't know if Debbie, you have anything more to say at this point?
No, it's just, it's something, it's a barrier bust we need to do. The more we work with Think and Do across different council departments, the more we're breaking down the barriers in a very positive way. And actually lots of council officers are telling us we're helping make their job more creative, but we've yet to crack this one, but we will.
And the sustainers, Debbie, if you could.
Yeah, so the first project we started with the council was through schools. Schools tick every single box, and we love working with students. So we thought, well, let's make the project student-led. What projects do students want to do instead of talking about recycling? So we've had some great projects we're doing with different schools, and we're starting, there's going to be a climate charter launch we're going to launch this autumn with the schools. our schools work, it's really been great, and it's sort of keep up what we do. Next slide, please. Now, you know, a lot of you here will probably say, well, that's all very well, but it's not so easy to approach a council. And we've certainly heard reports around the country, like I think it's Wandsworth or Tooting, where they've got absolutely no relationship with the council, and it's really hard. So it's all very well to say, oh, well, you know, just get on with it. But, you know, we've come up with here with sort of 7 or 8 projects, which we really urge you all to have a go with. You don't have to have a relationship with the council. You just have to go to them with a really positive project. So, for example, our Camden Forest project, Ellie talked about, it's just been a great revelation. It's really helped us with diversity. It's really helped us with our geographical reach. Just set up your own wherever you are forest. Get in touch with us. We can teach you the mechanism how to do it. It's a really inspiring project. And what's great about it is it's a winter project. So a lot of the year when, you know, in winter, we'll find it hard to get going with projects. This is a really good one. TCV will help. There's lots of mechanisms for getting bare root trees. And it basically crosses different council departments from sustainability to green spaces, trees, participation. Park back and parking we just talked about. We're working with green spaces, we're working with transport, we're working with sustainability. It's all about scope 3 emissions. But you know, there's civil engineering and different departments we've yet to crack, but we're on it. Schools, set up sustainer clubs, do workshops with schools. You know, Camden Council have got a relationship, they've got something called Camden Learning. We're working with them. We can get to go and present to all the head teachers in one go via the council. It's a great outlet. Pop-ups, you know, it's all very well to have a pop-up in the high street, but we can't all be lucky enough to be given a plum spot right in the middle of the high street. And we've had the idea, you know, let's transform some tenants' residence halls across the borough. I mean, it's easier said than done. We had a fantastic pop-up plan for Summerstown in July. It's now put back to September, but it's really helped us work with different departments in the council. We found a new department called Tenants and Residents Engagement. So we're working with housing officers on that. And we can do one estate, we can do a toolkit, we can roll it out across the borough. We can, you know, give you some toolkits how to do it across, you know, your boroughs. Vision in Camden was another project we did last summer in the, you know, in the midst of horrible COVID gloom and doom. We were like, what if when people opened their local newspaper on January of this year, we had a community 4-page wraparound local newspaper, which contained entries, visions of 2030 written by the community for the community. So we put this competition out there, and I don't know if many of you seen it, but it was absolutely fantastic. We're now going to do trails across the borough. Library of Things Ellie talked about. Now that's one mechanism. The council has paid for it, and I must, you know, stress you all here, we're not funded by the council. They give us the odd $2,000. It really is nothing. We are unfunded. We're just passionate about what we do and building this great network. But with Library of Things, that is funded, but there are other mechanisms. The Share Shed in Totnes, it cost them $5,000 to set it up. There's plenty of sharing economy projects. We're trying to set up toy swap shelves across the borough because that's really valid, and it brings in social inequality with climate action. Not everyone can afford to buy their kids new toys. So we love that one. Scope 3 emissions. I know Carlos can talk to you about the council intend to embark upon a Scope 3 behaviour change, but you know, there's other ways we can do it. If you can't get a pop-up shop near High Street, think about all our libraries around the country. What is the remit, the purpose of our libraries in this kind of post-COVID times? We urge you to really look at your libraries in a new way, and you know, energy conservation. Yes, you can do energy conservation projects. It's all very well renewable energy, and we've got a renewable energy hub, but energy conservation is so important. We've had issues with those because energy conservation isn't sexy. How do we make it sexy? So many different ways of connecting with your council, so many different departments. The more work we do, the more it is a question of creating an ecosystem within the council. Sorry to talk so fast. Ellie, over to you. Slide.
Yeah, just to wrap up with some tips. So obviously Debbie's given there some suggestions for projects that you could try, but also thinking about the projects that you're working on that you already have. These are some suggestions that we have. So what departments link to your projects? I think one of the revelations for me was the fact that there is a participation department. I had no idea that that existed at the council, but they've been really wonderful to work with. So discovering that they're there has been wonderful. And also, how can you collaborate? What's going to be the benefits for both sides? What like channels can you work through? Is there funding for your specific area? So perhaps there's a pot of funding that is specifically for participation or for like climate or something, and tapping into those can be really valuable. Also inviting local councillors and relevant council officers to your events that you hold. I think this is a really important one for building like initial relationships and for maintaining them as well. I think councillors really like enjoy coming to see what the community is up to, so that can be really, really good. Also, does the work that you're doing tie into any of the council's goals? For us, the climate action plan, a lot of our work does overlap, and I think that's part of what is so great about the relationship between Think and Do and the council. And lastly, obviously build trust, be patient, and also be persistent. Everybody has a lot on their plates, but I think the more that you work at these relationships, the more valuable that they become. And that's us, that's our contact information. And if you have any questions, please let us know.